Ladies and gentlemen, hello, hello, and welcome to a very special episode of Sherm in the Booth. My name is Sherm. You guys are some true Chicagoans for coming out in January. It's snowing outside, it's freezing, and you're at the fucking club at 1 a.m.
Boys with the bass, yeah, boys, bass.
Who am I talking to right now? You're famous.
Free food, free drinks, music, girls, let's go.
Do you like it? Cool. If you don't, goodbye.
I'm missing the most important part.
Boys with the bass, yeah.
We should throw like a crazy bar mitzvah party.
This is crazy. Send me stems. I finished it.
Hey, what's up, guys? How's everyone doing?
Just wait, you know it kicks in like 3 to 5 seconds afterward.
Yo, what's good, everyone, and welcome back to another brand new episode of Sherm in the Booth. I'm, of course, your host, Sherm, and boy, oh boy, do we have an interview for you guys today. Episode 228 features one of my dear friends and close confidants in the music industry, Mario Danza. Now, Mario comes with a wide array of experience ranging from promoting, event curation, physical and digital marketing, but what he's most known for is artist management. Now, although Mario has been managing artists for quite some time, he just recently officially launched his management company called Define Group that rosters artists like Truth and Lies, Long Story Short, Ryan Case, and so many more. Believe me when I say that Mario is one of the hardest working guys I know, and he gave us some incredible insight on his experience so far. Topics include, when does an artist need a manager or an agent? A question that's often asked these days. How to find your real fans and market to them, and of course grow that following. Building an actual career as an artist, as in building a business and making money. And of course the current and future state of dance music, and so many more topics. I love having guests like Mario on because there are so many artists of all levels out there looking for direction on where to go next. One of Mario's biggest strengths is providing insight and clarity from a business and creative standpoint for how to keep that momentum going. And he's got experience with artists in different genres at different levels, so he knows what he's talking about. This is just one of those episodes that you guys are going to go back to. Get your pen and paper out, people. This is episode 228 with my guy, Mario Danza. Ladies and gentlemen, hello, and welcome to Sherm in the Booth. I am honored to have this guest on today. This is someone that I have a profound amount of respect for. He is such an influence behind the scenes in the music industry, and even though he gaslights me, I'm going to gas him up today. Mario fucking Danza, welcome to the show, brother. How are you?
No, I'm good, brother. Thank you. I want to cut you off because I want to let you know. Thank you for taking this interview. And thank you for all you do. You're a great friend, great human being.
I appreciate that, man. You just made a good impression pretty much right away when we met at Miami last year. And we had messages and stuff. And I knew who you were because I had the boys Truth and Lies on the podcast. And, we had talked. But right when we met, I was just like, this is the fucking guy, man. And you're just one of those people, that's what makes the music industry so special to me sometimes, is you have these instant connections with people that have just been through some shit, but still want to be a good person, right? Because I feel like we deal with so many fucking negative Nancys, backstabbers, all that shit. But I felt a connection with you right away, man. That says a lot about you.
Dude, same here. And I can't believe it's been a year of actually just a year of knowing you, where it's insane. I feel like I've known you for so long.
Yeah.
And I feel like when you get that good relationship, because you're right. And in the music industry, you meet a lot of people that are sneaky. You meet a lot of people that you just don't vibe with, And I think it's not anything against anybody, or not that you can't work with them or whatever the case is. But, you have those people that you're in the business with, you see around, but you're also friends with, and you'll help out in any way you can,
Yeah, for sure, man. Cause that's how we push the scene forward. And, there are a lot of people who know who you are, but a lot of times, obviously I have artists on the show, but I love interviews like this because there are so many artists out there who want a manager, who want an agent. And today I'm going to be looking for clarity and just perspective from you on what you look for When you do look at artists now, obviously, first things first, we got to talk about the official launch of Define Group. Congratulations on that, brother. You have an incredible roster, and you should be very, very proud. And I know you thanked a lot of people on the way, but you've done a good thing with this group, man. And it's just a quality group of producers.
Thank you, man. It's been crazy, just doing this as a manager for so long, almost 5 years now. Then on top of it, just I remember like my first time of like working with a client and like going back and thinking, wow, like this was cool then, And I feel like at first you're like, you always second guess yourself. And one thing that I always did was, even with Truth and Lies and, Long Story Short and everybody is just, no matter what I did, I just put my head down and did it. If it was, I had to scrape a billion contacts, I needed to reach out to all these people, even if I was doing it not the best way at that time, the way I think that made myself like really grow was just never holding yourself to that standard of following status quo and oh well, it will come when it comes. I wanted to get it as fast as I could, and I think that's what's kept me pushing for this long at this point.
For sure, man. I think it's that East Coast mentality that you got, like just like how you were raised, bro. Like you're at your parents right now, right?
Correct.
No shame. This guy, his mom called him out, bro. We all got a mom that calls us out for not coming home enough. And Mario said, fine, I'll fucking come home for you, mom. I love you.
Listen, look, I'm not gonna complain. Some home cooked meals, all my family are around like 5 minutes away from each other, uncles, cousins, aunts, and I'm close to my parents. I'll never deny that. They've honestly, I was lucky to have parents that supported me with what I did, because obviously you look at it, you're like, you work in the music industry and it's like, what the hell does that mean? Like, what do you do? Like describing it every holiday made no sense.
Yeah.
But I think there's like the bond and the support my parents have always given me, and anything I've done is they've kept it consistent across the board. And honestly, without them, I wouldn't have had the confidence to keep doing this for so long,
I love that, man. You got to have a solid foundation, and the people you surround yourself with that you can trust, even if it's just your parents sometimes, then own that and love that. And it says a lot about your character, man. I mean, like you've been in the industry for a long time in a lot of different ways, right? Like just real quick, rattle off how many fucking roles that you've done in the industry and still do today.
Man, dude, I mean, it started out as a promoter, that was a time. I remember handing flyers, the days of these kids that don't remember. I feel like I'm 95 saying that, but the truth is I remember selling hard tickets. I remember having promoters collecting those flyer days, sitting in one room when you're doing collections for 6 hours, counting, make sure no one rips you off. I've done everything from PR marketing to digital marketing to running small term labels. That was like kind of one of my first job. Obviously management, but just different sectors of marketing, I think is really kind of the key, and done everything from operate nightclubs, programming nightclubs. And honestly, it's like, there's probably a million other things I can list, but I've just done everything across the board. And I think that's what's helped me gotten here,
For sure. What was our, I guess like you've gotten here, but what was like that first step that you took in terms of like going into the business of the music industry? Did you ever have like a 9-to-5 job, or was it always like hustling as a promoter?
No. So the way I started was I used to do shows back in college, some big, some small, like local places, whatever.
Yeah.
And I used to honestly just do it for fun, to party, get drunk, just nothing motivation. Any cash I was making at that point was getting thrown away, tossed. But 19-year-old kid, like making a few $1,000s on an event, like it was a great thing, So I think what really did it was my first internship. I worked for this company called Phase One Network. They're a massive like asset management. It's not really a label side. And, the first internship, you know how it is. First few months, you're just kind of dicking around, like trying to figure things out. And, I eventually like kind of started taking it seriously, and I remember like trying to find acts, and I found my first act that I believed in, this kid named Mason. He's still around, great artist. And I remember just being like, damn, like I think this guy can be it, you know? And that got me intrigued to dive deeper into really pushing records and how do you grow an artist from even just no budget to small budget, right? Like the label wasn't going on and giving me a couple $1,000s, even sometimes even a couple $100s. So it's like I grew attached to wanting to push more and get the best results. And I think that's really what's helped me along the way.
That's amazing, dude. And you never wanted to be an artist? Like you obviously started as a fan, but did you ever have an inkling to be like, maybe I want to be a DJ, maybe I want to be a producer?
Dude, absolutely not. I can't even dance, let alone trying to DJ, trying to produce. Like I knew since I was a promoter, you know, you have a lot of promoters and, you know, I don't think negatively of this, but there's promoters that put themselves on. And, you know, I always seemed it back in the day was, all right, let me put my friends on. Cause like, that was just kind of my thing in college. It's like, cool, we help you out. You're a good dude. We hang out, obviously. And then, you know, I remember I moved away like once I started going into the business stuff and, you know, someone opened my eyes. I don't even remember a promoter I used to work with a long time ago. And was just like, you have all these resources, like, and this is what you want to do. And I started getting into dance music a lot more than I was at the time. So I was like, well, that's great. You know, I met my partner at TTYL like way back in the day, and he was like a good friend and he was making music. So I was like, hey, why don't we just get some gigs, get you out there? And kind of made me realize like the influence of that, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I love that, man. And I've met a lot of people who have had a similar like trajectory as you, Mario, but I think really what sets you apart is like the genuine interest in like seeing what you can really like get out of an artist. Because in my like just short stint of managing artists, right? Like I started hosting events in Chicago, right? And I had all these DJs that wanted to play these events, right? And I was like, I was doing it with my buddy, similar to your story, right? And we were just like, maybe we should just like try and like advise these artists. And we're like, well, maybe we should manage them, right? And getting into an artist's like creative process from a business perspective when it comes to like putting out content, getting them outside of their comfort zone, releasing their music, taking the right shows, especially for someone who's maybe like a full-time DJ. It's hard because I guess I was able to come to them from a fellow artist perspective. My buddy was straight business, right? And that's what he brought to the table, was very smart about that. How do you meet your artists in the middle when it comes to like trying to push them creatively versus like, this is a good business decision, or maybe them being like, this is not the creative like direction I want to go?
If we're talking on the standpoint of music, I think to me, I love giving notes. I think I'm a consumer in the sense of the amount of shows I've been to, the amount of shows I've thrown in my life. I'm able to have that just sort of reaction to know what can hit in the club and what can work in like bigger rooms and stuff like that. And just listening to music overall and seeing it in different atmospheres. But as far as like a creative is, you know, at first it was when social media, when I didn't really know much, it was like, oh, like you see this person doing it, like, why don't you guys? And you know, my artists like pushed back and I, you know, I understood that. And I kind of was just like, you know, the truth in my eyes, like we started really more as a producer side, not on the social media side. So, you know, with them along the way, it's just been trial and error and finding that middle ground where it's like, hey, I want to try this idea. And, you know, they would try it for me and they didn't like it. And I saw how that affected them. And I didn't want to be that manager who was like, do this for views. Like this is going to get you popping and that's it. And I truly think if social media will know now, I think people are smart enough on social media. They've seen it enough, whether it's TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, is if that is really you, if it's not organic, it's just not going to work. And that's lessons that I've seen from marketing campaigns to this person, to my own artist. And I wasn't one to fight my artist on that because there's other ways of figuring out, right? Like artist doesn't know their own vision. Like I truly think a manager's point of view is, listen, you weigh in on the business side a lot. But as far as like the reason you're doing that is you're here to guide your artist, not here to make them your own makeshift model.
Yeah.
And like, this is what the package that you need to do, you know? And that's kind of the way I really have my attitude towards it.
For sure. So when it comes to like actually getting involved in managing these artists, are you watching to see when an artist really obviously is coming to terms with their fruition? Like maybe you don't even know them, right? But you're watching them. Is there like a point, if you could even like say like they're playing shows, they're releasing good music, or do you like to get in kind of early and like help them grow to like that really first like public foundation, so to speak?
I think for me, I have seen it both sides with just managers, and I truly love growing with the artist. Like, what made me a manager wasn't the fact that, you know, obviously business side, the potential, the whole 9 yards, but I look for a few things. Is you have the same morals as me? Are you working, no matter how hard I work, because I know I work hard, are you always trying to outwork me? Like, I don't want to rep a guy or any act that I feel like I'm doing 70% of the work to make things happen.
Yeah.
And expecting just one or a couple things to get done, and you're good on your side because you're the artist, right? Like, and listen, look, there's nothing wrong with that for other managers, heavy lifting. I just think that's just my personal preference and value.
Yeah.
And I think that's pretty much my like point of view on picking an act, because I don't care if you have 0 followers. I started with Long Story Short at 0. You know, I don't care if you have 50,000. As long as we meet and you have a vision and we align and personalities work, because it's almost like a marriage at that point.
Yeah.
That's all that I really look for. I don't really look for perception numbers and the whole 9 yards.
For sure, man. I think there needs to be a level of compromise, right? Like if an artist is serious about building this into a career that makes money, then they need to bring in someone who thinks about it from a business perspective. And on the business side, if they're serious about working with an artist to make it a career, they need to level with that artist and let them like follow their vision, right? But with your guidance. And, you know, what I really love about Define Group and your artists, the ones that I personally know and the ones that I follow on social media, right? Like Long Story Short is a great example, Mario. I know like I didn't know you started with him at 0. That's really fucking cool. Just to see where he's at. But the way he shares his content is really cool, like sort of the note style, you know, like that's how he expresses himself. He might not be the first person like fucking DJ Susan, right? Who's just like, I'm DJ Susan, you know what I mean? But we love that because that's him. And I think like to see Long Story Short, it's obvious that he's like supported. You know, I see that from an artist perspective. Truth and Lies, they're like an extension of you. You're an extension of them. And you can just see why you guys work, even though Ryan and Ian are such different guys. You know what I mean? Like you guys are all different guys. And, you know, the other people that I follow, Ryan Case, Aria, is that how you say it?
Aria, correct.
Yeah, so dope. Griffin Haas, Virus Mafia, right? Like these guys all bring something different to the table. It's a really cool, unique, and roster that just has a lot of variety and personalities. But I can kind of see like why they're your guys. You know what I mean? If that makes sense. In a good way.
I know you, and I know exactly what you mean about that is,
yeah,
you know, I think, you know, as far as and, you know, I appreciate all the kind words about them. And, you know, I can tell you they're very hardworking. And that's, like I said, one of the main points. But, you know, I think for me as a manager, I never wanted to be the guy where it's like, I'm going to manage 4 tech house artists in the same lane. And, you know, some people can handle that. But as an upcoming manager that is building his own name, building his own rep, and I go back to days with Truth and Lies when I was putting together their first tour, like by myself, no agent, just calling people, hey, you know somebody, and just people that I knew, and putting it all together. And, you know, actually first one that helped me in Florida was A-Crazy's manager, Alex Akla.
I just met him. He's a really nice guy.
Yeah, it's my friend for a long time, you know, and I think, you know, that goes to my point of just knowing and connecting with people. It just takes time, man. Like,
yeah, dude.
And as an upcoming manager that I'm not backed by a massive conglomerate. I'm not backed by a management company that has 3 other artists that are bigger in the space. I truly knew that I needed to diversify just my artists in general, their catalogs,
Right.
and just myself as a manager and the jobs that I do in the industry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, keep it interesting for yourself. I mean, honestly, I couldn't imagine managing 4 tech house artists like all in the exact same lane, all looking for the exact same slots. Like,
Mhm.
then it gets a little like, for lack of a better term, incestual, bro. Like, nobody wants that. What would you say the percentage of the music industry when it comes to managers? Like, how much of it is indie or independent versus like major, would you say?
Oof. I mean, it's a tough question. I would say like 60%, 70% are with big management companies, like,
Mhm.
because it's like you can leverage the artist, the buyers,
They've got the agent connections, right? They've been in the game, right? All that shit.
all everything. It's just there's so many different avenues that you can take it when you have a winning artist, and especially like, promoters want to keep that happy, right? Like on the side of, well, if I want the big fish that makes me money, I'm gonna help build this guy because I want to keep that going. And the other part is it's like, it was tough early on in the career is, that perception of an agent, right? Like
Yeah.
knowing if you're going to last or not as a manager. And if you have that capability to take that artist to really the next level to where they need to be in. So it's like with an agent, you need someone that you can trust is not only the artist and trust their vision,
Yeah.
but someone that's there to guide them, to help them really get their vision to become alive.
For sure. And you see a lot of these boutique agencies too. It's interesting, it took me a while to really understand the difference between an agent and a manager, because when you come up, a manager does a lot of agent like things. But now from working with like the Wasserman guys and doing like Chicago bookings and UTA and all these big conglomerates, right? Like they're all very legit. But when I work with these indie guys, same thing with the indie managers, I feel like it's like a tight team. You know what I mean? Like it's clear they're doing what's best for their artists. Not to say that like these bigger conglomerates aren't doing that, but you got to be a pop and artist to really get the attention of these agents, of these managers, right? Or else you're just a fly on a wall, and that can be tough, even if you're in the group.
Right.
So I mean, why did you just decide to stay independent? Because all these big management groups. I'm sure you've been like dealt offers before over the years.
I mean, not too many. I mean, like, there's been interest, don't get me wrong, but
Yeah.
I think I've always done it, whatever company I did. I know how my personality is, and I had a vision, just like my artist had a vision on really how to grow it. And that's why I did so many things for so long. I'm definitely scaling back on events, and, I'm still doing marketing campaigns. But like, I put myself through all that hassle and growth to, and this is no disrespect to anyone that goes there. I think to each his own. But for me personally, that was just a goal of mine, was to break out and really truly figure out how to build artists, which obviously I'm learning every day, right? Like I don't have like a secret code or nothing like that, but I wanted to stand out and just keep going my way, because I didn't fly to all these shows and lose money on my guys. I didn't do marketing campaigns to learn and break my back over and make these sacrifices to just eventually just hand over the company that I'm building and have built at the time,
What artist has the longest tenure that's been working with you?
I mean, it's a combination between Long Story Short, So Dope, and Truth and Lies. And, a lot of these other artists are very recent, like, and, I didn't want to pick up anybody more. I stuck with my core 3 guys for a very long time until I felt ready, because I'm not the type of guy to take somebody and then say, hey, I'm going to get you there and I have time for you and all this stuff. And you sit on the sidelines and I don't do anything for you. Like, it's a horrible feeling for an artist. I've seen it. I'm not going to name names, but I've seen it with artists on agencies. I've seen an artist in other management companies. Yeah. And I just didn't want to be that guy to overpromise and underdeliver,
Yeah. Which is why you've stayed independent, right? Like that's been your mission.
It's been my mission. It's been my goal. It's been my artist goals. And, I think everyone aligns with that mindset of, we know we're almost the underdogs of this situation, right?
For
Like,
sure.
and we're going to work 10 times harder. And not that everyone doesn't work hard, but that's our mentality, right? New York state of mind mentality is we're going to work harder than you. We're going to be the best because we're working hard, right? And
Straight up.
that's the way we roll, honestly.
Hard work goes a long way, man. And I know you got a great team behind you. Who do you want to show some love to that helps you like carry the weight of all these artists these days?
Man, obviously I want to shout out Marty. You obviously know him. We got to show the kid love.
My fucking boy.
He's definitely has grown in the year. I know he's got some more growing, but the kid has the heart, I brought on somebody else, Chris Capasso. He's been in the space in the trap scene for a very long time, works a lot in Discord, Reddit, and does a lot of amazing things. Has helped artists along the way too. Same mindset as me. I recently just brought on an intern. Her name's Serena, and she really has done minuscule work, but the girl's hungry, right? Like I can notice hunger. Yeah, and I like that. I don't know how it's gonna go. I don't know where it's gonna be, but I could see the girl's hungry. She's been working hard for 3 months. She's got a long way to go. But other than that, as far as like shout outs, I can rattle off 1,500 if we really wanted to. But obviously, my post said it the other day. My partners, Bob, Bill, Justin, they just been a support system.
Yeah.
They're not involved in the company, but they pretty much are at the same time. So
they're an arm, bro, for sure.
Yeah, and it's crazy because I remember first meeting Bobby and first meeting Justin and seeing my friends grow along the way, and just everyone I work with, Ahmad, who owns Crust Nation, who I've done the boats with for years, was the first big buyer to give me a chance. John Paul Pezzo, who owns Trust Us, David Jr., who's at Real Talent. There's just been a lot of guys that have just continuously supported me, managers too. John Riker, Wax's manager. Yep. But I'm not going to make 9,000 segments of shout outs.
I know. Should I start playing the orchestra music right now? But
right. I can rattle off a bunch of names, but I think at the end,
amazing, man.
It's I've been blessed to do that. I will never say credit. It's 100% me because that's not true. And I'm this about me. I'm a team oriented guy. It's the only way I'll live. And I'm just a bigger part in a bigger picture, I guess you would say.
Yeah, of course, man. And honestly, the reason I asked that is because I don't think independent artists that are coming up in the scene understand how many cogs in the wheel there are when you really get to these large levels, right? Like when there's tour managers, when there's 2 managers, when there's 3 agents, when there's a publicist, when there's a PR rep, right? Like you slowly build. And that's why it's going to be really exciting to watch you over these next couple of years, bro, to see like what happens with Define Group, like how it continues to build. Who knows what Serena could be, right? Like who knows which one of these artists are just going to have a fucking hit track, right? Like it's crazy, but they've got the right team behind them with you at the helm. So I'm sure these artists are extremely grateful to like have you in their corner. And that's something to be proud of, brother.
Yeah, thank you, man. Thank you. And I hope they're happy. I hope they're happy.
Mario, I think everybody,
they're happy, but
you're a nice guy, but no one's got a problem with saying fuck you to you. Is that true?
Listen, I got no problem saying fuck you back, and you know that about me any day of the week. So.
Exactly, bro. Exactly. So someone want to ask you about, and this is always a hot topic, right? Like how many DJs these days are just looking to get gigs, right? They want to get a manager, they want to get an agent. You kind of have explained the right time to get a manager, and it's when an artist really has a vision and they're putting themselves out there. What about an agent, Mario? Like when it comes like taking the next step with gigs, like when is an artist ready to actually get an agent that can go out there and get them these shows that they couldn't get on their own?
I think the time is ready for an artist it's a complicated question, right? Because you can look at, I know agents that look at numbers, right? And getting to a certain amount of bookings under your belt, bookings in the future, a certain number. I know other agents that just truly believe in an act and have a vision for it. For me personally, I think when you have interest, you've done a couple markets, and not even just a couple, you've ran through more than 8 to 12 markets yourself. you have like a foundation that you're comfortable with.
Mhm.
If you rush to go in an agent, like people don't realize, and this has nothing to do with my clients. This is just what I've seen being in the industry.
Yeah.
You can easily go to an agent, and not that they don't want to give you shows, but if there's really no interest or demand for you, or you know, you don't have a network of other artists, there's really not much they can do, right? Like at the end of the day, agents, they have the relationships, but they need a product to push, and that's just the reality. Like if you're not giving them the tools, they can't go do what they need to do.
Yeah, for sure. Like, I think one thing that I always try and explain to artists is agents are in the business of making money through the tickets that you sell and the product. Like you said, that's probably the best way I've ever heard it explained, honestly, just in a very simple way, right? Like, I hate to commoditize artists, but when you start asking questions about when am I going to get a manager, when am I going to get an artist, well, what does this manager have to manage, and what does this agent have to hook you up with, right? Like, they need a good product that they can make money off of, right? It's not a make off of, but they're going to get a percentage of that pie that you bring to the table, right? So I think it's very important to understand these dynamics. And you're right, it's a complicated question because sometimes artists pop out of nowhere, right, that have a manager and an agent, but it's probably because they came with that shared and clear vision on what the project is going to be. And also, there are artists that go probably their whole career without a manager or an agent that have success, right? There's no like sort of rules about the music industry, which can be a double-edged sword sometimes,
Yeah. And, to that point, you shouldn't want a manager that, if you don't really know them, or you don't really have much going on, like again, like maybe you have a couple good records and that's great, but like you want to create demand for yourself, right? Like as an artist, I feel like now more than ever you can be the most self-sufficient. Of course, you need to get to a level where you get a manager, you get an agent, but like you can make your own content. You can put out your own music. There's multiple platforms that you can use, and this isn't like 15 years ago, before even our time, where you had to only go to a pivotal dance label like a Spin In or an Amada. Obviously great labels still to this day,
Of course.
but there's very few options, and there's very few like marketing tactics. It was radio, it was shows, it was like that was like really
handing out flyers, bro. Yeah.
handing out flyers, man. Like, so it's like now more than ever, it's like, why would you give away 20%? Like, what if you're working harder than your manager? And like I said before, I think you should be, but to a certain point, right? Like, if I'm doing like kind of just waiting, and I'm just like, hey, I'm waiting for this to blow up, or hey, I'm waiting for something to happen. In the beginning, especially, like, I remember starting with Truth and Lies, and they already had stuff moving. I mean, like, they weren't like massive. It wasn't like they were getting shows, but they had a record on the Medium Rare compilation. They had a record on Tony Ramirez, Sands City. They had an In Rotation EP already lined up. And that's when I went in and was like, hey, like, at first I've known those guys forever. So like I knew them even before I even started as a manager, even had the thought. And
when they were throwing parties in Harlem?
No, I'm not that old, dude. Like, no, they're not old. But I just wasn't going at, that wasn't my scene back then. I was a Webster Hall guy, It's like really my thing. I was banging out the Skrillex,
You were at that show?
I was at one of the shows, not the last one. I was at the one where it was Skrillex, Joyride, and Slink. Well, it was Slink, Joyride, Skrillex. So
that's a night, bro.
Yeah, that was a night to remember. That was the old Webster where the floor was going to cave in. And
yeah, of course.
That's a classic show. Yeah, those are memories I won't give away. But yeah, back in the day, I was a trap head for sure. Like,
I love that. You come from a pure place of love for the music.
Trap, Jersey Club,
headbanger, bro.
Headbang.
Can you expand a little bit more on like marketing yourself as an artist these days? And let me frame the question a little more for you. So I went to ADE the past 2 years. You came last year, and in 2022, I saw Diplo host a panel with his team. Right, it's like the team behind Diplo. And one of the things he said that really resonated with me is just I feel like I'm on a similar trajectory. Right, like he ran Mad Decent for years on his own. He booked himself for years on his own. He managed himself for years on his own. Right, like he did every role that he has now, and even though he wasn't an expert at it, he knew what he was looking for. Right, with these roles. And when it comes to releasing music, I feel like the lens has shifted a lot, because it used to be like labels, 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 right? But like as A&R and label manager of Hood Politics, right? Like we are but a vehicle for these artists to get their music out, right? Like we have events, we have connections, we have all that stuff, but it's the artist who inevitably is going to be the one that pushes this forward, right? Is it real? Is it passion? And these days you can just put something out on DistroKid and market the fuck out of it. And if it's marketed well and it gets viral on TikTok or Instagram or gets in front of the right audience, that person who self-released a track might blow up faster than the artist that's had agents and managers for 5, if not 10 years, toured around, because guess what? Now there's a product to sell. So I guess the real question I have for you, Mario, is like, when you talk to your artists, are you pushing them in certain directions when it comes to marketing their music because you have so much experience? Are you letting them take lead and then you're guiding them? Or is this where you really come in with your knowledge and experience?
When I handle this, because all artists are different, right? I think all people are different. And, going back to my point before about being organic, I think it's about laying down that foundation first and just knowing your brand and guiding these artists to, because like I said, I never take control of an artist brand and overall vision. And like that needs to come from the artist. Like I can't, besides Marshmello, there's nobody in the history as an artist that's been created like that.
That's true.
Because you need to be organic or else it just won't connect. Like if it's forced, if it's not what the artists really want to do, listen, look, there's questions to guide them there. You talk them through it. You get them to like really open up their eyes to themselves is really what you need, right? Like, starting with artists now, like going from ground up is, I think first things first, the music. I think you got to figure out, and not like, oh, you have to figure out you're just a tech house artist or whatever. Like you can make whatever. Like prime example, look at Long Story Short, right? Like
dude.
We've done bass house records, we've done drum and bass records, we've done dance pop, like dance indie electronic records. And my thing is like you have to have like a signature sound. Like, I think Truth and Lies, they were the first where I really learned this, was out of the gate, they had their own sound, that ticka ticka ticka, which is now expanded. But that was what they first started getting their records known for. I'm sure you even remember. And I feel like everything needs to relate, right? Like, and this is what I tell my artists is your music needs to relate to your brand. Your brand needs to relate to you, to your sound, and all that needs to relate to you. Like I can't teach that. There's nothing I can do to orchestrate that. You can do marketing campaigns, sure, to boost numbers, but that not all the time that doesn't build fans, it builds perception,
Yeah, that's true. And not always is perception reality. I think we've all kind of learned that, right? Just because you boost a post, like, so to speak, and you get more likes, that does not mean that you're going to have people coming to your shows, right? Like how many people out there have 1 million monthly listeners on Spotify, but they cannot sell one fucking ticket in a market, even in their own sometimes, right? And that's why I brought that up, is because I felt like for so long that if I got these people in my corner or whatever on my team, that they would do those things for me. But I realized I've been focusing on the wrong thing the whole time. Learn the process yourself. Learn how to market yourself in a way that is going to be you. And then these people come in and can help take you to the next level. But I feel like the most important thing that an artist needs to know for as long as it possibly takes is what you said, Mario. Like it starts with the music, what makes you you. Dylan Francis is probably one of the greatest examples of this as well, right? You can change your sound, sure, but is it still part of who you are as a person, right? Like we're all fucking humans, bro. Like we go through ebbs and flows of tastes and what we like and what we don't like. And what do people love? They love artists who are unapologetically themselves. And it takes a while sometimes, right? But then they last because they've been doing it already and now they're prepared and there's not the pressure of like having that hit record and then what's next, right? So there's two sides of that coin, right? Like you have the TikTok song blow up. I mean, Acraze is a great example. You know what I mean? Like he did do it to it, and it fucking was a cornerstone for house music, in my opinion. And he shared a lot about it. He was like, there was a lot of fucking pressure on me to have a next hit, right? And now he's continued his stride, and it's awesome to see. But that doesn't happen for everybody. So then there's the imposter syndrome aspect of being an artist. But it's tough out there sometimes, bro.
It's really tough. And I think as I've gained my experience as a manager, especially like I told you, I'm in it for the long haul, right? Like I'm not looking for an artist, make a quick bag, and then eventually when they die out, I'm off, right? Like I'm starting ground up with a lot of guys, and it needs to happen when you're ready, right? Like, say for instance, I have an artist, Griffin Haas, as you mentioned before, and he's really working on his sound right now. He's figuring out his brand, but the kid is musically talented. A lot of people like his records. We just put on out a Technique and it got great support. Like Shiva-san, I believe Sid might have played it on NSO radio and just a bunch of other stuff. And I think an artist like him is, he's 22, 23 years old, right? Like there's no need for me to be like, figure out your sound right
Hurry
now.
it up. Yeah.
Hurry it up. Like, I would rather him properly develop and understand the vision, get music ready, get the brand and like your kind of social direction that you want to go. And then let's hit the ground running, right? Like,
yeah, dude.
Where I've seen other, managers and just artists that, even when they start off, and any starting artist out there, you guys should understand is you're going to know when you're going to know. Like, you may not feel like it. You might be 75 records in. You're like, I have no idea. But you're going to make that one record where you're like, wow, I love making this shit. I want to keep making stuff like this. I'm sure Sherm,
Yes, dude. I know all too well. And I love that you said, like, you got to be ready, right? That relates to so many different aspects, right? Like an artist's confidence in himself, an artist's confidence in their music. Like, how many times have you sent a record to a label, right? And they're like, this is sick. What else you got? Right? You don't want to be that artist that says, I'm working on some stuff. You want to be that artist that sends them 20 more fucking demos that are ready to go, right? Like, I know Truth and Lies is like that. I know Long Story Short is like that, right? Like, these real fucking producers that like have been doing this for so long, they're ready, right? And like, hey, I got a gig for you. They've been in front of a crowd, right? Like they've cut their teeth DJing. They know how to entertain. There's so many aspects to that you need to be ready for. And I think like the tough part these days is just the world we live in, where it's just like instant gratification, right? Like we all want it now, we want it now, we want it now. But you cannot compare yourself to Marshmello, Martin Garrix, like all these people. Look at Diplo, look at Cascade, look at Armin van Buuren, look at Hardwell. These guys did it for so fucking long, and now they're the main stage headliners at Ultra, and they still are, and they will continue to be for a good amount of time, right? John Summit, he was doing this for a while before, right? Deep End wasn't his first fucking track, like so many people think it is. So, and I get passionate about this stuff because I sometimes, even as an artist, like I want it now, bro. You know what I mean? But you have to stay humble and know that like everyone's timeline of success is different. And as cliche as it is to say, it is about the journey. It really is. Because the journey is where you meet people like you, like Ryan and Ian, like DJ Susan, like Chris Diaz, like Carlos, bro, right? Like never in a million years did I think I would be friends with Carlos Sid, right? But somewhere along the way, he came on my podcast that I had been doing for 6 fucking years, and we hit it off. And now he gives me his fucking bottle at his night base show and I black out. I make myself an idiot, right?
Guys out in the crowd.
Yeah, but that's the journey, dude. Like those are the stories you talk about. You get too focused on being the circuit grounds headliner. That's a good goal to have, you know what I mean? But think bigger. What's the impact that you want to make on others? And how will you be fulfilled on this journey as an artist?
And I think you hit it right on the head. And honestly, that's a question an artist should even ask themselves about their brand, right? Because this has no longer been records this is such a weird day and age, and I've seen a lot of marketing. I've seen a lot of records roll out. I've seen what back ends look like. And it's insane to me now that, look at some of the biggest records in the past couple years, right? They now blow up before they're even released. And it's like they're the hottest thing before they're even released.
Right.
And then, not saying that after it's released, it's done, but 2 weeks after, everyone's looking for the next thing. Like,
yeah,
it's almost better you hold the record and get that record massive. And then when it releases, it takes off. And, listen, people are still going to listen to it after it blows up. They're still going to do it. But the buzz and the talk is all gone after the record's out for the first 2 weeks. And then you're like, well, shit. Like, I guess I'm gonna make another one. What's next, right? Like,
we all want, we can't have. Who's the fucking king of that is Fisher and Chris Lake, right? Like, Rhyme Dust. I mean, the people took care of that one for MK and Dom Dollar, bro. Like, I saw an interview with Dom. He goes, man, I just like literally played it during a set and put it on TikTok, and the world said, we need this right now, right? And they had to rush it. That's incredible. And that's very exciting for an artist in the music industry, is not feeling like it's so dependent on the money you pay to promote a song and get on these playlists on Spotify to get these fake listeners, right? Let the people be the judge. Let the people be the judge, because they are the ones. It is still a very human industry that we're in, as digital and automated as it is. It is a connection with people when you play your music, and your medium and your vehicle is CDJs or however you want to do it, right? And I try and not get discouraged on my own. I try and like inspire other artists and just pump them up, being like, hey, you released a song, it got 1,200 plays. That's not enough for you? Well, did you have fun making it? Did you roll out some dope content that you enjoy? Can you go back and be proud of what you put out there? Because sometimes the artists are not in control of how well something does, because guess what, Mario, you know this, art is subjective, right? It is something that we have to deal with as producers. But like I said, like, are you fulfilled with this music that you're making? Like, are you your biggest fan?
Yeah, I mean, like, dude, look, it's a longevity play. Like, if you're expecting in a year or two you're going to be the hottest DJ, that is so far left of the way you were supposed to be thinking. It's insane. I mean,
we know the type.
You broke, yeah. And I mean, like, prime example, right? Look at someone like Chris Lake. Chris Lake was around for 8 years. AC Slater around for 11. You know what I mean? Like, Chris Lake, I remember back in the day, like before even COVID, 2018, playing, mid open slots on shows, to then becoming the biggest thing. And that didn't happen overnight for him. That's probably 6, 7. He had Boneless. He had Steve Aoki collab.
Yeah, people don't even know that, dude. I'm like, do you remember the track Boneless? Because that was him, Chris Lake, Chujamo, and Steve Aoki. Like, wow, the combo right there, right?
And that's the thing. Like, I think music is timing. Music is, you need to keep putting out shots, right? Like, you need to develop your sound. You need to develop your vision. And like, it's not going to happen with 1, 2, even 10 releases. Like, it's going to happen. Listen, look, now with the power of TikTok, yeah, for sure. Like, you could be an artist that puts out one record and it absolutely explodes and it goes viral, right? And, there's cases like this, take somebody like Disco Lines, Bad. I mean, one of the most impressive acts.
He deserves it. He was ready.
And he was ready, and he had a vision, and he had a brand. And, that goes back to my point is, you're ready when you're ready. Like,
yeah,
like, and that's the thing. Like, I think music is a time thing. I think your brand and a vision is on you, but like, you can't allow that pressure. Like, you just gotta believe in yourself and keep pushing forward and keep releasing and keep putting out content until something works, right? Like, that, really the name of the game.
Right. And I know there are producers and artists out there that are listening and saying, I'm doing all that, and I'm still discouraged, right? And I sometimes don't know what to say other than what we just said, was just keep going, man. Like, this is a long play. This is a dream job for a reason. It is not easy to achieve. You do not apply. You do not get health insurance. You do not get a 401k matching situation here, right? Like you're going for something that comes with a lot of fucking strings attached, but it comes with the gift of giving. And that's why I do it, bro. You know what I mean? Like that's why I do it, because I don't give to get, but when I give, I feel fulfilled, right? Even if I get nothing back.
Right.
And it's like the Midwest thing, bro. I was talking to somebody about this recently, like almost to a fault. Like I'm just the guy who holds the door open for people. And even if my group has gone in like 15 minutes before, I'm still holding the door for like the 1,000 people, you know? But people got to get in and I want to hold the door open, right? And I own that. And I try and find the balance of like when it's time for me to finally go in, you know, if that makes sense. So even an artist like me, who I have so much left to do and accomplish, and sometimes I feel like I'm not where I actually am, but I'm lucky to have people like you and so many other people that say you're killing it, you're doing it. And you have those small moments, but you got to appreciate those moments. So it's like, that's how you keep going.
Yeah, man. It's, first off, you'll be through the door soon, my friend. And
Thank you, bro.
through the door soon. And, I think, just kind of like wrap that point. Anyone that expects this to be easy and you're just going to get it, it's not going to happen, man. Like, and you got to really buckle yourself down and know I'm going to keep going. And you're right. It's important. That's why I love you hood poly guys. Like at the end of the day, like it's even with Susan, like you guys are about each other, like, and about other people and love. And that guy giving you a big sweaty hug every time you see him. And like, but like really honestly, why I connect with you guys so well is, I'm very similar in that sense. It's, a while ago, I had someone tell me, and this line always stuck with me as a manager, is management is one of the most selfless things that you can do. And I don't think of myself as Jesus walking on water, but I never understood it until like, obviously like recently, since, in the past couple of years, just for talking with your artists and seeing them getting beaten down by something that's out of your control is what also pushed me to realize that and keep pushing that no one's going to do this for you. Manager, no agent, even just an artist themselves. Like you need a support system. You need a team around you. And even if it's not someone that's working with you, that's on your payroll, that's on your project, is, similar to like us, Sherm, it's just like having that network you have a similar mindset. And that mindset is whether you guys work on the official same company or team or whatever, is having that bond with other people in the industry and being like, yo, I'm going to help you out whenever I can. And whenever you can, you just help me out. And it's not about counting cards. This isn't a transactional thing where it's a 1-for-1. If I help out somebody 7 times and then one day, a year later, they know they're going to have their backs and have my back, that's all that matters to me,
Yeah. Oh, absolutely, bro. God, I love that, Mario. That was good, bro.
Yeah, thank you.
People, did you know this is his first podcast ever? Because he's not acting like it, bro.
Dude, stop it. This is my first. Actually, I lied. This isn't my first one. This is my second one. I got to shout out Aaron Root. This is my first, I think, official big one. Back then, I was obviously still a beginner management phase. He asked me, it was COVID, had nothing else to do, and I took a shot at it, but shout out Aaron. But this, I would say, is probably my first official, yes.
Well, you've been great, bro. And I want to end on one question, and it's just about like where you think the industry is at right now and where it's going. And I know it's a very open-ended answer, but like what's the gut reaction to that question for you right now, especially in your role as a manager?
Dude, I think the music, in dance music especially, is the wild, wild west right now. It's bigger than it's ever been. I don't think there's one lane that, for years it's been, big room is big. Then trap was big. And then Moombata. And then, all tech house and all this stuff. But now it's like the power of like what social media has done, like TikTok, and just the variety of just artists coming out of, whether you're in college, whether they're older, it's, you can really just release anything you want now. And I think I think there's good things to that. And I think there's bad things to that. Right. Like, I think people look at it as like, well, I'm going to drop a drum and bass and then a tech house record and then this. And as long as it's like I said, you have a sound that people know, I think that works. But like, if you're doing straight hard drum and bass and then you're going to like a straight pop, dance pop record,
Yeah.
if you don't have your branding and your sound on it, it doesn't. But to answer your question, and like the way the state is like anything can work now. As long as you have a good strategy, a good vision, and a good brand,
Yeah.
you can really just do whatever you want. And it's great. I love it.
It's true, bro. It's like we've said a few times, right? There are no rules and it's a booming industry, especially in the US. Like it's crazy for me, like I saw it happening years ago. My brother was still in college. I must have been 25. He told me about Mala, right? And I go, damn, like this is what the college kids are listening to? Like we listen to Avicii, this progressive big room shit. But now the kids like this underground like G house stuff, right? Like and I had known who Bijou was, but like to know that like this is what college kids are listening to, right? Like look at disco lines, bro. Like these kids want fucking tech house. Who was I just talking? I was just had Goodfellow on the show, right?
Right.
And people were coming up and requesting Clooney. And I'm like, God damn, bro. Like at a Big Ten school, they're requesting Clooney. And like it keeps getting like the culture just keeps getting more like dirty. I don't know how to describe it, but like it's tight, bro. Like it's literally just like a dope time to be in dance music, especially in the US. And there's so much demand for these like international artists who are struggling to get visas, unfortunately. But like I still think like, all love, but like that's a time for an American to capitalize. So, and outside of the US, Americans are getting a lot of love too, right? Like the energy that we bring, the music that we have. I think like the Hood Politics Showcase in Amsterdam was like a very humbling experience because you were there, bro. It was a great show. There was people from all over the world there that loved the music we were playing.
Yes.
So it's just like, to answer my own question, I don't know, but I do know it's an exciting time right now. That's for sure.
Very exciting. I wouldn't love to be a manager at any other point. Like people say, hey, it's almost, I talk to other marketing guys where we talk about how marketing promotion was significantly easier. Like back in the day, you can get a SoundCloud repost that gave you 100K in a day, like, like it's insane. Like one click of a button, boom, somebody, chain smokers repost you, it's game over.
You're done. You made it. Yeah.
Yeah, you're made it. You're out of here. You're getting shows. You're getting touring, and I think now more than ever, it's a little bit harder, but it's also easier for artists because it's not one cookie cutter lane that's working. You could be a Sarah Landry playing hard techno, selling thousands of tickets. You could be a disco line, pretty much playing whatever you want, but releasing what you want, and playing massive rooms, right? And I think for all artists out there, it's just believe in what you do and have a vision, and anything can work now,
Yeah, no, anything can work now. And I think there's more examples of, the people like you just mentioned that have come up in ways where they were ready, they were unique, they were themselves, and people get on that fucking train. And you just see more of these people popping up, which is great, right? Because it is harder in some ways. But that's what breeds creativity, bro. That's what breeds collaboration, ingenuity, right? Like we're all building things together. And I think since coming out of COVID, you see that amongst artists, like these genre bending collaborations are so sick, right? Like tech house and rap are hand in hand these days. It's fucking awesome, right? Like drum and bass is like you mentioned, like coming into its own fucking scene. It's still a small sliver, but it's a tight unit, right? UKG is very hot topic right now, right? Like, and I'm seeing a lot of actual singers and songwriters coming together, right? Like networking, like places like Miami Music Week, right? Like just trying to work with producers. And I just see a lot of smiles these days about it, bro. You know, like everyone's really happy to be collaborating, and I know that's not everybody, but that's who I try and surround myself with. So it's a special time to be a manager, to be an artist, to be a fan at the very least in dance music, dude.
Nah, man. I mean, you kind of hit it on the nail. Like, I've never been more excited to even just forget like working in the business, but as a
Yeah.
fan, like being able to go have an artist like a Sarah Landry. I keep saying her name because I think she's
You love her.
fantastic. Like,
Yeah.
the whole, I'm not a techno guy, but that does. But even I was on the phone with a couple of contacts the other day talking about college kids and like how the markets are even just so different right now. Like it's like, I think Clooney like is a bigger example, but like you have guys like Sosa playing college markets, which is like insane to me.
That's insane, dude.
Like, and the day you thought, like, back in the day used to be, the guys that are playing bottle clubs are playing the colleges, or like they're having the big records and the big moments. But like I said, like anyone could be interested with you. And the biggest takeaway, and I keep saying it because I want these artists to know, is just keep putting out your stuff. Like, keep pushing yourself, no matter if you don't think you have it. Like, I've told my artists, when you're just people I know that just come to me and they're like, hey, like, Barry, you think you can manage me? And like, and I don't take offense to that. I never want anyone to turn away. Like, I love giving advice. I love giving, what I've learned and what I've been through to these artists. Is you're going to make 150 records until you're really ready. Like, when you sit down the day you're like, I'm seriously going to be a producer and this is how I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
You need to clock in 150 records. There's no way around it. There's no cheat codes. There's none of this. It's just, and I think this is what's going to keep bringing the genre bigger and bigger. And the way it's expanding is, as long as you keep pushing yourself, the music industry will be pushed as well,
Some wise shit right there, brother.
Thank you. I'm trying over here.
Well, dude, I want to talk to you for a second after we close off here, but is there anything else you want to tell the people? Anything we can look forward to? Obviously, you have all these amazing artists that I'll be sure to tag, but where can we find you on socials? What can we look out for? What's next for the big dog?
So, you can find me at Mario 2_ Danza. Or you can find me at define.group. I had to double check that one. Marty made the handle, so I had to that one. So what was you want me to say? What? Like, what? How do we end this? You want me to just go off with a bang and that's it?
I'm challenging you to close it off, brother. What do
you? I can tell you, for my artists is, and even just the manager, I think for Define Group especially, I've never been more calculated and more scheduled and had more clarity for them. And I think hand in hand for my artists is the same thing. I think they're hungry, they're tired of getting overlooked as the underdogs. You know what I mean? Like, if you can see the amount of work, I mean, Ian and Ryan alone, you know what I mean? Like, guys are working full-time jobs, still touring, still now making content, and their content plan has been better than ever, and their brand and their vision has been clearer than ever. Is, all my artists across the board, long story short, young kid Ryan Case I have is the next one up. I mean, his vision alone for his brand, for his age, is insane. And Arya, same thing, like going on in trap, but then like starting to branch out into some more melodic. And like I said, just all these artists like on my roster just putting their head down and going to work. And my job as their manager, but like kind of like my pride is, I'm going to make sure I'm working as hard as with them, if not harder. I'm going to try to outwork them. I could tell you, like, long story short, Truth and Lies, Ryan Case, like all my guys, they're Arya, like hard worker. Like Arya will lock himself in a room and come out 10 hours later with 3 records. And I'm like, dude, what's wrong with you? Like, how that it's sick, like,
yeah.
But, to end the day, I think, by the end of the year, I think the Fine Group will be in a bigger place. And I don't mean this in a cocky way or we're going to pass everyone, nothing like that. I just think we've aligned very well, and I've helped create a team of not just, hey, this artist and this artist, everyone's working together, everyone's supporting each other in every ways. And I've never felt more closer to a group of individuals like that are really stoked, like
It's awesome,
that's pretty
dude.
much it for it, man.
God, I'm so glad I let you fucking do that, because that is the passion that a real manager needs to have for his artists, people. All right. Show some love, show some respect to the goddamn legend, Mario Danza. Thank you so much, brother. Shout out to New Jersey. Shout out to New York. Shout out the whole East Coast.
Tri-State, baby. You know how it is.
Second home, baby. Make sure to check this guy out. And thanks for listening all the way to the end if you guys made it. Man, do I love Sherm in the booth. Oh, hey, I think you do too. Hope you enjoyed that piece of content. If you're looking for more, make sure to go to my YouTube channel and hit that subscribe button and turn on all notifications so you don't miss any upcoming Sherm in the Booth interviews, live sets, new music, exclusive artist interviews, Sherm's Word, sub-pack reviews, and more. This is your one-stop shop for everything entertainment. Cheers.